Yo, yo, yo. We're back. Episode 6, boys and girls, and ladies and gentlemen, and whatever else you guys want to classify yourselves as. We are back. It's a First Choice Fantasy Podcast, episode 6. And today we're going to do the AFC North Divisional Rankings. So we're going to go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, just like last time, okay? Try to keep up because we're going to be really quick this time. Crackhead speed, if you will.
No,
We're not. Brandon doesn't talk that fast, so everybody knows this. But question time, I guess. That'll be it. Question time. Question time.
Question
Ready?
time. All right.
question.
Bearing no relation to any one of us, Mr. Cole comments, who would survive the longest stranded on an island with no food or shelter?
Okay, can I say one thing?
hold on. Hold on. Are we together?
Ooh.
Are we together or are we put on separate islands?
I'm assuming we're all on separate islands,
yeah.
social distancing from each other.
Oh, okay.
So who's surviving, boys?
All right.
Brandon's gonna. I know Alex gonna push heavy for himself. So let's see.
Yeah, I'm waiting for
I'm just
heavy...
gonna ask if you guys. How long do you think you guys will make it? Do you guys think you'll make it?
I would make it a decent amount. I'm not the fucking best survivor, I guess, because we're all not survivors because we live in fucking houses and whatnot on an island. We wouldn't survive that long, but I would be able to make it work somewhat.
I guess it depends on the sort of island that we're on, but I'm not very confident in my ability to start a fire, and I don't like seafood, so I think I would just drown myself.
Shit. I feel that to a T.
Do we have is there any hope, or am I just here? What are the circumstances?
I think it's there for a year or two. Say that.
All right. So you have to survive for a year or two.
I'm probably just gonna start swimming into the ocean and then quickly realize that I can't really swim, so then I would drown.
I feel like I would enjoy the time. No bullshit. I don't know. I mean, I hate seafood.
Until you go to plug your phone charger in and you're like, wait a minute, I don't have a phone, nor a phone charger, nor a fantasy team.
Well, then I'll be playing tic-tac-toe by myself. Wouldn't that be fun?
I'd enjoy it for probably
11 seconds.
First 3 hours.
Yeah, maybe.
My phone would die. I would run out of things to do, and
you would get thirsty and you'd look around and be like, shit.
I mean, I'm personally really good at Minecraft, so I feel like those skills I could add into the real world.
How is one good
Are you gonna
at Minecraft?
sculpt yourself a castle?
How do you quantify Minecraft success exactly?
Well, you can identify different materials based on those blocks, you know what I mean? Say I go into the real world to an island, that sand is definitely going to be square. So, I would know, what sand looks like based on Minecraft.
You see the palm tree and you
Is this a rainy island or is this a dry island?
Well, I mean, weather goes on and off. If that doesn't make any sense. Weather is very, it changes. So, I mean, I would say there's occasional tornadoes and stuff.
Oh, on this desert, on this.
Oh my God.
Is it a tropical island sort of thing?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know.
How hot is it? Am I just going to die of sunburn? Heat stroke?
I'm assuming there's shelter.
Well, I mean,
there's got to be some sort of
trees and stuff, but where am I? Am I off the coast of South America? Wait, am I in the Pacific Islands? What species? How dangerous is this land? They got bugs out there that'll you won't even know that you've been stung, and then you're just dead.
I don't know.
To answer this question, we need a guide. So, Mr. Cole, send us a 5-paragraph essay of what the conditions of the island and what all seafoods Alex has to choose from.
I know. I mean, I know what I have to choose from. The answer is none, because I'm not eating.
I could feel that one. Yeah, so
would I cave under the pressure? Maybe, but can I catch them? Probably not. I would just look for food on land, and I'd probably eat some berry that I probably could have assumed was poisonous, but I'm going to go for it anyway. I haven't eaten in a week, and then I would die.
Or I'd
get killed by the local wildlife. I think I could find fresh water, but after that, food's a question mark. Honestly, what if there's just no source of fresh water on this island? Then you're dead immediately.
So none of us would last very long at all.
Yeah, I think
That's what I'm
that's
getting out of this little.
That is also what I'm
experience.
getting out of this.
Yeah, that's the conclusion to take away.
Not a bad question, though. I like that question.
I like the question for sure because kind of like
Nothing to do with fantasy football.
yeah, I don't know what that was all about, but yeah. So cut to the intro. Boom.
I said, baby, I am not the one to play with. Ain't the type to give up, I'm driven and motivated. I just want some recognition and some compensation. But this ain't about the money and it ain't about the fame. I got lightning in a bottle, I think I just found my perfect sound. Can you see the fire in my eyes? Bitch, it's burning out. Lightning in a bottle, I think I just found my perfect sound. Can you see the fire in my eyes? Bitch, it's burning out.
And we're back. Brandon's licking his lips, so we're all happy, okay?
Some beautiful value in this AFC North Division.
If you say so. I mean, we're gonna start with quarterbacks, and first up is gonna be Alex. What do you got, boy?
Ooh. Oh, I get to go first.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, at number 1, we have Baker Mayfield. Just kidding. We have Lamar Jackson. This is where things get interesting. I see none of us could really come to a conclusion here. I'm going with Burrow at number 2 just because I really like Joe Burrow, and maybe I watched one too many LSU games last year when he was shredding the entire country like no one else has, and maybe that's influencing my mind a little bit. But they got some damn good receivers, and they have a good running back, and I don't know anyone on their offensive line, but who gives a shit? Joe Burrow, man.
Joe
Legit.
Burrow.
I think Baker Mayfield will be more improved under Stefanski in that offense. Like, I've said this to you. I just said this to you earlier. That team just reminds me so much of Minnesota. It's kind of scary. But I don't know. I like Burrow's ceiling a little more. And Roethlisberger, I feel like will put up decent fantasy numbers if he's healthy. But then again, he might just miss 11 games. He's also Ben Roethlisberger, so he'll throw an interception to a defensive tackle every 5 plays. But hey, man, as long as he's chucking 5 touchdowns, fuck it, I don't care. Throw your kicks to the defensive line. Yeah, exactly. Jameis Winston, might I point out, when I acquired him last year, you made fun of me. But
well, I mean, who wouldn't make fun of that? Thinking back on it, and then fantasy.
He was a rock solid addition to my
obviously.
fantasy team.
I mean, people are probably making fun of people drafting Devontae Parker last year, but I mean.
Yeah, I mean, then who else acquired him?
The guy who values production over everything. Okay, Brandon, you want to go next?
What the fuck? Why wouldn't you value that in fantasy football? Yeah, I value the guys that score points. No shit.
That's what you said last episode. I was just quoting you, Brandon, or Alex.
Well, I mean, is it a bad approach?
Guess not. You won a championship, didn't you?
Hey, man, I put Burrow at number 2. Man, has 0 NFL touchdown passes.
Whoa! Production, though. He has
wow.
production. That's all you got to say.
Less production that I had voice cracks in that last sentence, which was wrong. If anyone picked up on that. Anyway, Brandon, explain to me why Ben Roethlisberger is your number 2 fantasy quarterback in this division.
Well, Lamar's obviously 1. Ben is just,
Maybe.
I don't know. I think it's a pretty even playing field between the 3 of Mayfield, Roethlisberger, and Burrow. I like Burrow and his obvious upside, but he's unproven. Ben Roethlisberger is
proved that he can throw away seasons like the best of them.
Yeah. So, but he can also ball out sometimes, and I don't like Baker, and Baker can sit at 4 for me. Not a huge fan.
Much better quarterback competition than the last division we did, and you're going to notice that's a growing theme. Because holy shit, the AFC East is terrible.
Yep.
Sweet. Well, I'm going to go bold right here. I'm going to say Lamar Jackson, number 1. Not a lot of people like the man, but, number 2, anyway. Baker Mayfield.
Can't have a running quarterback, number 1. Just can't.
Yeah, it's not
going to happen.
Baker Mayfield at 2, okay? So this is where everything kind of shifts, literally, between all 3 of us. So
I don't know. I buy this explanation. I haven't heard it yet.
Why is that?
Because I can see why you put him at number 2.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I said I think he'll improve, and I understand you putting Burrow at 4. I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
Okay, let me get into this Baker explanation, okay? So last year, obviously, you had OBJ, Jarvis Landry, first year with both of them on the same team. Freddie Kitchens was a disaster. Let's just be real with that. Even Baker Mayfield struggled at times last year. Wasn't completely on the offense coordinator or head coach. But Baker Mayfield obviously was selected first overall. So he has talent. Last year didn't look like he had any talent. But I expect him, like Alex said in the coaching changes episode, that Kirk Cousins had a 9-to-1 touchdown interception ratio under Stefanski last year on deep balls. Baker Mayfield had a 7-to-7 touchdown interception ratio. I can see that improving like a shit ton. Maybe not 9-to-1, but Baker Mayfield's not a terrible quarterback. We know this, okay?
Also, he's a hell of a lot more aggressive than Kirk Cousins is, which should be helpful from a fantasy standpoint. I don't totally buy his talent all the time, but he'll throw the ball at least, so that's good.
Yeah.
It's true.
Winston.
And with a healthy OBJ and Jarvis, you can expect a lot more out of Baker Mayfield. Then you add in the fact you can have a whole season with Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and then you bring in Jedrick Wills, Jack Conklin, and Austin Hooper. I just feel like that offense is like, it's 10 times more talented, in my opinion, than the Vikings were.
Yeah.
You can say, like Alex was saying in the coaching changes episode, if you squint really hard and you look at the Vikings offense and you look at the Browns offense, it's like the same exact thing.
Honestly, I don't even think you have to squint anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
They just look the same.
They look the same, but in my opinion, the Browns
maybe a better offensive line for the Browns.
Yeah,
better at the tight end position, probably slightly better at receiver. Running back, probably a wash. But
then after Baker Mayfield, I have Ben. So Ben enters the year with a new receiving core than he did in 2018. In 2019, he played one game, obviously, but with Deontay Johnson in year 2, and you have Juju Smith-Schuster coming back. Well, not coming back, but they're teaming back up. I don't see like a big ceiling, I guess you would say, for Big Ben. Like some people might be like, oh my God, he's going to throw like 40 touchdowns. And like, while that's possible, I just don't see it happening just because of the fact he's coming off an elbow injury, his throwing arm. So like it's going to infect him throwing the ball. It's going to be 10 times better than Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. The guy who got whacked in the head. Yeah. But yeah, there's a large range of outcomes for Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion, this year. There's definitely like a chance that he gets replaced or some shit. Like if he performs poorly, like very poorly, you get replaced. And that's why I have him under Baker Mayfield. I believe in Baker more than I have belief in Ben.
That would be hilarious.
It would be,
benched Roethlisberger. He'd be so mad.
Extremely.
I don't think they'd do that.
It's possible. It's not.
I guess if he like really, really sucked, but
all right.
I think he's an asshole, so I'm cool.
I see a pretty even floor for Roethlisberger. I mean, if he stays healthy, I think he could have a
even,
consistent.
Do you mean like good
consistent?
Floor, you mean? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
not necessarily good. I think it could be average.
Consistency could be like 6 points a game.
Yeah, as long as it's consistent.
Yeah, and average consistent flow.
I mean, he's going to get opportunities because
that was my thinking as well. Whereas I feel like Burrow could just go ape shit with those receivers.
Yeah.
Baker could have a better season, which is why I put Ben at 4. However, that's not to say that, like, I think he's Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah.
At number 4, I have Burrow. Obviously, me and Alex disagree, but Burrow at 4.
Throw 80 touchdown passes.
See, you can say that, but I can also say Burrow throws 2 touchdowns and 25 interceptions and gets cut. I mean, it's definitely possible.
Also, like,
but yeah, last year, obviously, LSU, Heisman winner, insane offense. I'm not really, like, buying into the whole dude, to be honest with you. Like, at least first year. First year, any quarterback can really come in and just be average. Like, last year, you saw Kyler Murray be average at quarterback. Kyler Murray finished quarterback 8, so obviously
well, I'll take that
pretty
for Burrow.
good. Yeah, it's pretty good. I don't see Joe Burrow finishing quarterback 8, though. It's just no shot.
Does he have the running abilities like Kyler does?
Not as well.
No, but I think from a throwing standpoint, it's night and day. Not to say that Murray's bad at it, but I don't know. Burrow was really, really, really like unprecedentedly good last year throwing in college. I'm not saying he's going to come into the NFL for 60 touchdowns and shred defenses at the same rate, but I think he'll be pretty good.
With Burrow, they have great talent running back, wide receiver, obviously. A.J. Green coming back, John Ross there, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. It's just a lot of weapons he can use besides the fact that he has C.J. Bazama, or I don't know how you say it, but and some dude named Drew Sample, and they're just names, honestly. I don't know who they are, really. But bottom 12 pass blocking unit per Football Outsiders last year as well. So
their offensive line sucks. However, they're going to throw the ball a lot. Like, they ranked 6th in attempts last year, trotting Ryan fucking Finley and Andy Dalton out there. So
yeah,
I'd imagine that number would – probably
I
be
agree.
that same, if not higher, with Burrow. So
I agree. But
talented quarterback, good receivers, a lot of attempts. I like it.
I know my final thoughts on this division is that after Lamar, the next three quarterbacks could easily be like switched around.
Yeah, same. Thinking about
Like,
it, I could have Burrow switching with Ben probably.
I could see Burrow being 2. I could see, I could see Mayfield landing at 2. Any of them.
There's no.
Any of
It's
them.
not unrealistic seeing Burrow go up to
Yeah.
2 for sure. Burrow could finish like a
Absolutely.
top 5 quarterback this year. I mean,
I think Burrow has the highest ceiling, and that
Yeah, for sure.
influences my opinion as well. I also don't think he has the lowest floor. I think the lowest floor is Ben Roethlisberger because he's like a 39-year-old man.
And
Okay.
it should prove to everyone, all the listeners, that Lamar Jackson's obviously number 1. We're not even going to talk about him because
no
it's
need.
that known.
I don't know, man. That talent's questionable.
Anybody switching positions here? We got running backs. I guess we'll have Brandon go first this time. Let's hear it, Brandon.
Be Rondon. All right.
Be Rondon.
I got Joe Mixon number 1. I like the new little team the Bengals got. Got Joe Burrow at quarterback, Joe Mixon at running back. Got some. I love the wide receivers, although I don't see a lot of them lasting throughout the whole year. I think they'll lose some from injury or possible trades. Mixon is the most safe player, skilled position player on the Bengals team. And then it's Chubb at 2, Ingram at 3. Although I don't love Ingram, I think the money talks and the Ravens paid Ingram. I don't think Dobbins is going to get the starting looks so early in his career. I think the Ravens have had a long history of keeping running backs fairly healthy, getting them mixed in also. So I think Dobbins will also be reliable this year, but I don't think he'll be top 5 or like top 3 in this division. So I have Dobbins at 5, Kareem Hunt in between those 2 Ravens running backs. I like Hunt a lot. I think he'll be really involved with this offense with the Browns. And then James Conner. I like James Conner a lot, but it's just the injuries that place him at 6. I could see Conner being, if playing a whole season, I could see him behind Chubb or even behind Mixon at 2. And then Anthony McFarland. I like his opportunity. Giovanni Bernard. You gotta show the man some respect. He's been doing it for years with the Bengals.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
you didn't, but
I didn't at all.
But I also take into consideration the fact that Mixon hasn't had full seasons of playing football. So Giovanni Bernard, I think he'll be somewhat, very slightly involved. And then if it were to happen, if Mixon were to get injured, I think Bernard might play a starting role in 2 games next year. And I think that would be enough to uproot Gus Edwards to place him at 9 on my rankings. Not really much explanation for Edwards. I think he's buried. I don't mind him. I think he's a halfway decent guy. Just the team he's on, just at least right now, I don't think he's going to have opportunity.
But yeah, like Gus Edwards averaged 5+ yards per carry in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
He's a good running back, but it's just
I
the fact
completely
that he's
agree. But if the Ravens aren't going to be spending these draft picks. They spent money the year after Edwards had that halfway decent year. I think it was like half a season where he actually produced.
Yeah.
The next season they go out and get Ingram, and then the next season after that, even after still putting up those numbers, getting J.K. Dobbins. I think
don't know
it's
how
a shame,
explosive
but,
he is. Like, it's nice to have someone to get you like 5 yards a pop, but those guys just aren't not as highly valued anymore. Jordan Howard's been bouncing around like a lost tennis ball these last couple of years, and he's dependable.
Yeah.
But he gives a shit about these guys. All right, Ed, what you got?
All right. So obviously, well, not even obviously, with Joe Mixon at 1, I love Joe Mixon. Like, first of all, you bring in Joe Burrow, you bring in T. Higgins. You have enough weapons to surround the entire offense so that it's not just one focal point on the offense. So passing, running, the offense is going to be efficient, in my opinion, this year. Maybe not even this year, probably next year. But Joe Mixon last year was 4th in yards created per touch. With his offensive line, they haven't improved, obviously. They didn't bring in anybody, I don't think. But
They get Jonah Williams back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if that matters.
They were a bottom 7 run blocking line last year. You bring in Jonah Williams. I don't think it's going to change that much, but I'm sure it could improve just slightly. If it improves just slightly, I can see Joe Mixon finishing as a top 10 running back this year. He had 2 games that was 3 games last year, 70+% snap share, which obviously you don't need to have like 100% snap share to be elite fantasy running back, but I feel like they just limited his use last year just because of the fact that they weren't going to win games. They just weren't going to use a player and possibly risk injuring him just to give opportunities for him. Like this year, I can see like there's been talk about Gio Bernard getting cut. I just feel like Joe Mixon has receiving upside, has rushing upside. Number 2, I have Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt obviously behind him, so there's little pressure behind him to take carries away, take targets away. And last year, Nick Chubb actually, I think he had more targets than Joe Mixon did total last year, which is actually pretty shocking because the public's perception on Nick Chubb is that he's strictly a running back, like doesn't have much hands, yada yada yada. I mean, obviously he doesn't have a high receiving upside like Joe Mixon does, especially with Kareem Hunt there. It kind of like takes away carries, takes away targets, like I said. But I don't think you can overlook his receiving possibilities, especially with Kevin Stefanski there and how he managed to get Cook top 3 running back last year, was it?
Yeah, I think Hunt's or Chubb has just never really found himself in a role, even in college, where he could get those receiving targets because he played with Michelle at Georgia, where Michelle got all the receiving targets, and then he's played with Duke Johnson and now Kareem Hunt.
You're not wrong. I mean, in college, he had a 6.5% target share, which was 38th percentile among all running backs. And obviously that's not great. But like I'm saying, like people are making it out to seem like Nick Chubb has bricks for hands like he's Jordan Howard or something. And he doesn't have that, but it's just the opportunities. He doesn't have that. Mixon's going to have the opportunities. That's why I have Mixon above Nick Chubb. That's all I really got to say about those two. Then I have J.K. Dobbins at 3, James Conner at 4, Mark Ingram at 5. With J.K. Dobbins, very, very talented running back. Fits the Ravens system perfectly as an in-between tackles rusher. They drafted Justice Hill last year, and I'll touch on that later, but the man just doesn't fit the scheme. Like he's a speedy, like agile running back, and J.K. Dobbins is between tackle. I'm not saying he's not agile, but he's going to be able to put his nose down and get those yards that they need. Justice Hill, meanwhile, is going to do stuff like say shady and try to like juke people out in the backfield. Like that's just not what they need for their system. Last year, Mark Ingram had how many touchdowns? I think it was like 10th in touchdowns.
It's pretty crazy.
It was
off.
He had an insane amount of touchdowns last year, and I can see J.K. Dobbins taking a big chunk of that away from like red zone carries away from Mark Ingram, and that obviously makes a large high touchdown upside for him. The loss of Marshall Yanda shouldn't affect J.K. Dobbins as much, or any of the running backs for that matter, because they brought in DJ Fluker, and obviously he's not Marshall Yanda, but he's still an effective lineman. He's not a name, and he's not Marshall Yanda. He fits in between those.
Now, I've got a question for you, Ed. I know you were saying Chubb should be involved more in the target game. Is that just a statement on what you hope to happen, or is there
I don't expect
quotes
him to be included in the target game. I'm just saying, like last year, he had more targets than Joe Mixon, which is
all right.
I think he should. I mean, he's not going to be their receiving back because Kareem Hunt's going to have more of that role. But Kevin Stefanski is very much a member of that line of thinking that all your plays should look exactly the same. All your running plays, all your passing plays, whatever you're doing should be exactly the same. Well, to make that happen, you have to give Chubb some targets, or else if he's on the field and Kareem Hunt's not, then they're running the ball. So I think he'll get some. Like he'll just have to keep them on their toes.
He's not going to have, obviously, 80 targets or 90 targets like Fournette did last year, but I can see him having like 40, 50.
And that's exactly my argument last week's episode when I was speaking on behalf of Sony Michel.
Yeah, I get it, but like at the
and
same time,
Chubb's playing
Difference
more
between
snaps
Chubb and
also.
Michelle is that Chubb is good.
Well,
Sony
you just
Michel
said
is-
that when Chubb was with Sony Michel, Michel got the receiving looks, so why can't Michel get the receiving looks now?
I mean the thing
because
is,
he's sucked in the NFL.
it's been 2 years, and the coaching system hasn't changed. I don't see Sony Michel just all of a sudden like, oh, like we realized that we gave him 20 targets last year and he just blew up the field, which he didn't. So like I just don't see a
To
situation
me,
where
that's the difference. Chubb has been good, and Michelle has not.
you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to assume this is going to happen, even though there's no like
helps that,
trends
you know,
pointing to that.
James White is a far better receiving back than
That
Sony
too,
Michel is.
yeah. And you have Rex Burkhead there too. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously Kareem Hunt's there with Nick Chubb, but like I said, like there's a new regime there.
They said
different
Kareem
coaching.
Hunt might take some snaps in the slot, which is funny.
Number 4, I have James Conner. Now with James Conner, he could obviously finish like Brandon said. I don't know about second running back in this division, but he could definitely finish third if he stays healthy the entire year. He had 5 injuries last year, and 4 of them were lower body injuries. Now, obviously, I don't know like the science and the statistics about like returning from injury and stuff like that, but if you have 4 injuries in one season that are lower body, I'm not going to bet on you being a healthy running back. You just can't. Like you can't bet on that. And then to add into that, they bring in Anthony McFarland, who I like a good bit, even though their coach came out and said that James Conner, they want to use James Conner as their workhorse again. And it's like, that's cool and whatnot, but like if he gets hurt, what are you going to do? Last year they were lost with him when they didn't have him. They had Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels and Kareth White. Is Kareth White still on the roster? Do you guys know?
I don't know who the hell that is. So
Exactly. Nobody knows
neither.
who it is. But they
Never
used him
heard of him.
last year, and they were just struggling without James Conner. Now,
they were struggling everywhere. To be fair,
they were, but like that was their one. Like that's the thing they could lean on with Duck Hodges, with Mason Rudolph. They had James Conner, and when he was there, they can lean on him. But he wasn't there sometimes because of the 5 injuries that he had that year.
Yeah.
Now with McFarland coming in, I just see him taking snaps, taking carries, taking even targets, like a lot of targets. I think he's a very under the radar dynasty pick for sure. Even in redraft, if you have James Conner, I would tell you to draft Anthony McFarland like 15th round probably. It's not a waste of a roster spot, especially if you have James
No.
Conner, because like James Conner has been injury prone in the past year or two. He
Hasn't
gets hurt
hurt.
often.
Yeah.
Get McFarland in there. Say they do use McFarland as a workhorse, okay? He's going to produce. I'll get to McFarland later, but he's going to produce, okay? Mark Ingram and Kareem Hunt, that was 5 and 6 for me. Mark Ingram, he's going to be 31 in December. He's talented, but J.K. Dobbins, I don't think they would spend a second-round pick on J.K. Dobbins just to let him sit behind a 31-year-old running back who did produce last year, but I mean, it was a system. Let's be real. Mark Ingram isn't a god, and he isn't a second-string running back, but the system last year definitely helped him. He was 17th in yards created per attempt last year, which obviously gives him RB2-ish production-wise as far as yards created. But like I said, the system helped him, and he had a ton of touchdowns last year, which I don't see happening again, especially with J.K. Dobbins there. Kareem Hunt, I loved this man last year, and then I thought about it. The running back, like this year in redraft, I can see him definitely succeeding, like being a low-end RB2, somewhere around there. But after that, like say dynasty-wise, I know we're not talking dynasty in this episode, but thinking about it, that running back market is going to be so diluted next year. There's Najee Harris coming in, Chuba Hubbard, Max Borghi. In addition to Leonard Fournette going to be a free agent. Who else? Somebody else going to be free agent. I forget who it is. Oh, Alvin Kamara is going to be free agent. There's a ton of running backs next year. So like all these running backs like Kareem Hunt, who produced their like that first year in Kansas City, he went crazy. Everyone's like, oh my God, he's such a great talented running back. And then this offseason, he was supposed to sign with another team. Didn't happen. One more year.
Helps that, he like kicked that lady on the ground.
Okay, well,
that's also a bit of a negative going his way.
I mean, regardless, people are expecting Kareem Hunt to sign elsewhere next season. And if he does, do you really think he's going to get that rollback that he had in Kansas City? No shot in hell. No way. I don't think a team would depend on him to do that because of his off-field antics. Even if they did bring him in, it would be probably to share workload. And even that, like, that's going to be happening with every backfield, obviously, in the future to come, because the running back market is going to be so large, like so diverse. There's going to be so many running backs. But let me get back to redraft. The new regime coming in with Kevin Stefanski, obviously it's supposed to be run heavier, yada, yada, yada. Kareem Hunt's not going to lose. I mean, he only had 4 games. Was it 4 games last year? No.
Man, yeah, 8, I believe.
6. Oh, yeah. He was out, not 8 games and then a bye week. So it was like 7, 8 games, something like that. Okay, so all that numbers like from last year, I don't think you can really look at it because of the fact that, first of all, it was his first year in this new system. Second of all, it's going to be another first year in a new system. And he had a small sample size last year. New coaching, new ways they're going to use him differently. And, like, you can't look at the numbers from last year. Like, even just fantasy numbers, you can't really use that a ton. Say Nick Chubb, like, I don't know, sprains his ankle or something like that. Kareem Hunt gets 1 game and he 20 carries, 90 yards, a touchdown, something like that. Cool. Do you guys think that Kareem Hunt would take over the backfield from then on out?
I don't think so.
No shot in hell.
No, because the more talented player will come in, be healthy, and then take his job back.
But regardless, yeah, okay. Kareem Hunt at 6, okay. Anthony McFarland at okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say one thing. You commented on how Hunt is affected by redraft and dynasty.
Yeah.
I would say for dynasty wise, I would say, although it's diluted like you were saying, I could see Kareem Hunt landing in a much better situation. Because right now, being on a team like the Browns, they've got so many offensive weapons that's pretty insane. I feel like this is worst case scenario. Him staying with the Browns were worst case scenario in my opinion, because you've got the workhorse back in Chubb, you've got Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, target hogs, both of them, and then they bring in another tight end that was just finished top of tight ends. I feel like him leaving, I don't know, list off any destination spots. I would more or less say that those destinations would most likely be better than what he's already in, fantasy-wise.
You're not wrong, but I mean, the thing was I was talking about with Dynasty is the fact that nobody took a chance to try to sign him this year.
Yeah.
So what makes you think they're going to want to take a chance to sign him next year? And even if they do, what makes you think that they're going to want to throw a bag at the man and he comes in as their starting running back? I don't see that happening.
I think it's more obvious. Look, I'm not saying they're going to throw a ton of money at him, but I think it's more likely there's more interest in him next year because, like I said before, I guarantee you a lot of teams decided we're not touching this guy right now.
He needs to prove it.
He just needs to prove that he can go a season without assaulting someone. We need to put a little more distance in between that. That to me, that's what it boils down to. A little more time and space between him and kicking that lady lying on the floor.
Oh, God.
Don't tell me anyone really gives a shit about that. They just care about perception.
And another thing is that at the end of the offseason, Hunt is most likely going to get signed. I mean, right now, Freeman, he's not signed, but he could go to a team. I mean, Redskins. I don't know. Redskins could pick up Freeman, and I mean that would make Freeman halfway relevant. I mean, just because Hunt decided to stay in the very beginning of the preseason or of the off season, I don't think that has too much of a outcome on what if he would have just stayed to test it longer. Because I think eventually he'll land somewhere, and eventually value will build up after a certain amount of time.
Okay. Moving on. Gus Edwards 8, Jared Bernard 9, Justice Hill 10. They're all just people at this point. I said Gus Edwards was efficient, but obviously he's not going to get the opportunity, so there's no point in even rostering him in redraft leagues unless it's like 25 teams. But yeah, besides that, those 3 I'm not touching. So, Alex, let's hear your running back rankings.
All right, so keep this nice and simple. I think Nick Chubb is going to get a lot more of an opportunity than Joe Mixon. I think he'll get more touches. We saw Dalvin Cook last year. They ran a lot of their offense through him. I think Chubb will get a lot of carries. As I said earlier, they'll have to give him some targets just because. And he's very talented. I don't think Mixon can handle as big a workload as Chubb can. Like as we talked about, Mixon tends to get hurt a lot. That's kind of detrimental to a fantasy player's performance. And I think Chubb will see a little bit more consistency. Like he had the tendency to blow up one game and at 8 points the next game. I'm looking for more consistency from him in year 3. Yeah, that's why I have him number 1. I don't really have Mixon that far behind him at 2, and I contemplated putting him at 1. It's just the crappy offensive line, whereas, as you mentioned earlier, the Browns' offensive line has the potential to be pretty greatly improved. To the Bengals' shit-ass offensive line.
Oh, Browns, yeah, okay.
Yeah, versus the Bengals offensive line that consists of, I'm not really sure what, a bunch of turnstiles and a first-round pick from a year ago who just missed his entire rookie season.
Yeah.
How could I not be confident in that? But, the receiving upside is there, and he's a very talented running back, so he's a close 2. I could see RB1 finishes for both of them. That wouldn't surprise me. I have Dobbins at 3 for pretty much the same reasons you did. He was maybe the best running back in college football last year. Like, he was really good, very explosive, and I think the Ravens will utilize him. I think as the season goes on, he'll start to take like the majority of the touches from that backfield because I like Mark Ingram. Like, I think he's a good running back, but I think Dobbins can outperform him. I think he's more explosive and the better player is going to play there, to me personally. Connor at 4. These next 3 guys, I was really torn on who to put where. I feel like you can swap any of them around. I have Connor at 4 just because he's number 1 on the depth chart. And if he stays healthy and plays the entire season, you're looking at a probably solid RB2 finish, would you say?
So, yeah, upper RB2
if he stays healthy. Yeah, like that's his ceiling, whereas I don't think Hunt and Ingram have that ceiling. So I don't know where I'd be drafting James Conner. To be honest, I'm probably not touching James Conner in a redraft, but between those 3 players, I'm going with him because of the ceiling. They want to give him all those touches, and that could make me look really stupid when he gets hurt and misses 8 weeks, but fuck it. Hunt and Ingram at 5 and 6, I don't really know who to put where. As you said, Ed, Ingram scored a lot of touchdowns, and that kind of like helped his fantasy outlook last year. He had a lot of games where he didn't really do much, and then he had a lot of games where he scored 30 points because he got in the end zone 3 or 4 times. I don't know if that happens again. I think you could see him, I think his numbers will take a bit of a dive, personally. Whereas Hunt, I think, offers a relatively safe floor. He's not going to score 25 points a game, but if he can get you 10 per, solid flex option. I can't be mad at that. So my reasoning after that. And after that, it's just you throwing shit at the wall. Obviously, Anthony McFarland has probably a greater chance to stick than the other guys because he's a shiny rookie. I don't really know much about him in Maryland. Other than that, he was pretty explosive. Will it translate? Who knows? I don't know. The Steelers have been chucking mid-round picks at running backs for a few years now with Samuels. And they draft Snell? Is he like 5 or 6?
They drafted Snell 4th round.
Oh, 4th.
Yeah.
Man, he was good in college. Not good in the NFL.
Yeah.
Will McFarland be any good? Beats me. I don't know. But I would take a flyer on him over the other guys because good chance he gets an opportunity. Edwards, Hill, I don't care. Who cares? I'm not taking them in redraft. Who is Justice Hill anyway?
Yeah, it's a fake person.
Is it barely even know the guy's first name? I still don't know. Justice or Justin? Is it Justice?
Justice, yeah.
And after that, you guys remember when Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill formed maybe the most annoying duo ever?
Jeremy Hill was going crazy in fantasy the first couple of years.
Yeah. Where the fuck did he go?
The Patriots.
Nobody knows. Nobody cares. And also, I think Bernard's freaking washed. So even if Mixon misses the entire season, I wouldn't count on anything from Bernard because, as you said, they might cut him. He's old and running backs don't age well. That's all I got for that position.
All right. With the wide receivers, who's going first here?
No, you can go first.
All right. Ed will go first. Okay.
Let's go, Ed.
I'm not going to try to take as long as I did last time, but jumping in, I got Juju number 1, OBJ 2, Tyler Boyd 3. With Juju, there's this narrative going around on Twitter. I don't know if it's going around like the typical sports world or whatever, but like I see people saying like Juju's going back to the slot where he's excelled at his sophomore year. It's like I looked at the numbers. I don't know if I'm just looking at this incorrectly, but in 2018 he played 56% of his snaps in the slot. 2019 he played 59% of his snaps in the slot. It's like this narrative is kind of confusing to me, but let's just forget about that. The man's talented. You get Big Ben back, even though he's injured, or he was injured, whatever. He's coming back. there's an increase in opportunities, I believe, because of the fact that last year Pittsburgh ranked in the top 10 in rushing play percentage. In 2018, they're ranked bottom last, like next to last in rushing play percentage. So obviously, with Big Ben there, they're a very pass-heavy offense. When you have no names like Mason Rudolph and Delvin Hodges, I feel bad because I feel like I'm being attacking them with every single position here. But regardless, when you have them there, you're gonna have to run the ball a little bit more because you can't
I
depend
have
on
a feeling they're not really going to care about our opinions.
It
I mean-
affects every single skill position
Yeah,
when
exactly.
ranking out these Steelers.
Yeah. Like I said, you get Big Ben back, probably an increase in pass percentage, so you're probably gonna have more opportunities from Juju. The offense isn't a crapshoot like it was last year, obviously with the quarterbacks, and even they had Deontay Johnson, they had Juju Smith-Schuster, they had Vance McDonald, who, I mean, cool, I guess, and then James Washington, who's a fake person, just like Justice Hill. Your running back when James Conner wasn't healthy was Jalen Samuels. Like, there's not that many eyes to keep. You don't have to keep on. You have to shift your focus on one player at that point because everybody else is just names. Juju was the main focus on defenses, even when he wasn't. Like he was. Didn't he miss a few games last year?
Yeah, Juju? Yeah. I thought he
Yeah.
missed like half the season or something like that. Felt
Probably
like it.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was hurt even when he played.
So coming back,
not a good combination.
That too. Coming back from an injury, he's due to improve. I mean, and then you bring in Chase Claypool, Eric Ebron, and James Conner is healthy. I mean, at the moment.
For now.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just Juju. The offense isn't solely just Juju now. So, I mean, it gives him more opportunities to show what he had in his sophomore year, like his extreme talent he has. But moving on to OBJ, number 2. Last year, obviously, everybody knows he was injured. Not sure the whole situation there, but he was injured last year. Supposed to be healthy this year, yada, yada, yada. Extremely talented, just like Juju. The offense is going to be more run heavy, though, with obviously, well, that's what everybody's assuming. He ranked 69th last year in catchable target percentage. So obviously, the targets last year that he got were not the best. Do I expect that to improve? Yes. Even though the catchable target percentage is going to increase, I still see opportunities decreasing, so he's not going to be a top 10 wide receiver. Like, that's not going to happen this year. He did struggle with drops last year, though. He was first among all wide receivers with 11 drops, and he was 92nd in true catch rate, which is obviously not positive for OBJ because he's known for his hands, and he obviously the OBJ, Odell Beckham, you know what I'm saying? But regardless, his second year with Baker, who I'm assuming is going to improve from his last year because he was complete poop last year, like everybody knows. Tyler Boyd at 3. Cincinnati ranked first in total percentage of plays in the 11 personnel last year with 3 wide receivers. So even with their crowded wide receiver room, I can see Tyler Boyd getting a number of opportunities, especially like Alex said earlier, the Cincinnati Bengals were, I think, top 3 in total pass plays per game. So there's going to be...
They ranked 6th in total attempts for what it's worth. And their offense probably wasn't on the field a lot. So, yeah, they threw the ball when they were out there.
Yeah. Even with 3 wide receivers, I mean, obviously it's going to get divvied up, but Tyler Boyd's going to be out there consistently, so I can expect a decent performance from him week in and week out. People are saying that AJ Green's going to play his slot, like playing the slot, which I'm not sure if I can buy that, just because of the fact that, like...
My thing, if you have a receiver that can win outside, you want them to play outside because the slot is where you put the guy that you want to shelter. The slot is where you want to put like a John Ross, where you can use that like vertical speed and create mismatches because it's hard to press out of the slot. You're standing back a little further. It's hard to get pressure on them that way. So why would I waste AJ Green's talent in the slot?
And not just that, but at the same time, like they're expecting people that I've heard, like I've read articles, yada yada yada, seen tweets. People are saying that AJ Green's going to play the slot role. 32-year-old who just got franchise tagged, no long-term like extension. You don't like who knows if he's on the team next year, like after this. Why would they take away reps from Tyler Boyd and give him to AJ Green? I guess just to make Joe Burrow like feel comfortable. Like I just don't see the whole point of that.
Green's talented. I don't know why.
Oh, he is, yeah.
Let him on the outside. He can beat corners on the outside.
Why? Because they want to use John Ross and put him out there and put T. Higgins.
That's why you put John Ross in the slot. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Obviously, it benefits you to put your talented players in the slot every now and then. But
yeah.
if you can win outside, I'm going to put you outside.
I think John Ross played on 19% of his snaps in the slot. So obviously, I mean, it's more than AJ Green. AJ Green was, well, when AJ Green played in 2018, he was at 17%.
That's weird. I feel like they should use Ross out of the slot.
You would think, right? But that's not what happened.
Yeah, especially when every other receiver they have is like 6'4".
Well, maybe that's why they had the first pick in the draft.
Tyler Boyd played a good amount in the
John
slot
Ross
as well. Tyler Boyd played 55% of his snaps in the slot, and 67 in 2018, 67% of his snaps. So obviously he's their slot receiver. That's why I'm confused by this whole AJ Green narrative that he's going to play the big slot role, yada yada yada. I don't buy it. Tyler Boyd, number 3. Okay, Deontay Johnson at 4. Love this man. Ranked first in separation among all wide receivers last year. Even with Big Ben, who threw 5 picks against Jacksonville in 2017 and throws picks to defensive tackles, like Alex said, I can see him hitting a wide open Deontay Johnson with 2 yards separation between him and his cornerbacks. I mean, if you create separation with a quarterback who obviously is coming off an elbow injury, I think you'll get targeted a good bit. He's a talented wide receiver. I mean, nothing much else to say. Number 5, I have Jarvis Landry. 6, AJ Green. 7, Marquise Brown. Jarvis Landry was top 10 red zone receptions, receiving yards, and yards after catch last year. Don't expect that to keep up. He had 3 injuries last year. I think he's still a low-end wide receiver too. He's not a bad talent, obviously. He's a good talent. Opportunities are going to diminish, like I said, with Odell Beckham. Bring in Austin Hooper. There's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. Jarvis Landry was obviously Baker Mayfield's favorite target this past year, but I just see that changing a lot this year. AJ Green, like Alex said, he's a great wide receiver, honestly. I feel like he's overlooked among most people.
It happens when you play for the Bengals.
Yeah, exactly, situation-wise. But yeah, I mean, he's 32 years old. Obviously, it's not a huge knock on the guy because he performed when he was 30, 2018. But I feel like they're kind of like fading him out, like as time goes on, because of the fact that they drafted. Obviously, John Ross isn't what he does, but they drafted John Ross. They brought in Tyler Boyd. They brought in T. Higgins. Even like you guys are saying about Auden Tate, but I don't like Auden Tate that much. Like I feel like they're just low key like pushing away slowly. Obviously, they franchise tagged him, so like I said, they don't have really much of an incentive to keep him around or even use him that much this year. But I mean, talented.
Apparently, they were working on a long-term deal with him. At least that's what I've seen.
I've seen that it's more possible because they cut Andy Dalton or something like that. I didn't see anything about them working on a long-term deal. Number 7, Marquise Brown. He had 2.25 yards per route run in 2019. I read an article John Bauer did he did a study on rookie wide receivers from 2010 to 2018. 12 of these wide receivers had 2+ yards per route run the rookie year, and they ran 250 routes. And of the 12 rookie receivers, and 11 of them had at least one wide receiver one season. So taking that in consideration, obviously it's a small sample size, only 8 years. There's 12 wide receivers, but I mean, that hit rate right there alone, I mean, can't really overlook it. It's a small sample, like I said, but can't really overlook it. And Marquise Brown, 2.25 yards per route run in 2019, 25th in the league as a rookie, which is pretty nice in my opinion. And obviously the scheme holds him back a little bit because they're run heavy and whatnot, and the fact that Lamar Jackson targets the tight ends a ton. His upside is there just because he's a talented wide receiver, first-round wide receiver. But like I said, the system holds him back, and yeah, he's a pretty boom bust wide receiver in my eyes. Like 1 week he might have 25 points, and then 1 week he might have 5. I don't know. He's interchangeable with AJ Green though. Like I said, AJ Green's at 6, but I can see Marquise Brown say the Ravens are forced to pass a lot this year. I can see Marquise Brown, like I said, having a high ceiling and just jumping up to a wide receiver 2 finish throughout the season. AJ Green jumps down if he switches up with him. And yeah, John Ross at 8, T. Higgins at 9, and Miles Boykin at 10. I don't got much to say about these people besides T. Higgins. I wouldn't expect him to produce in week 1 or first season. I probably won't draft any 3 of these receivers, honestly. Who is next on this wide receiver ranking?
Alex.
Okay. All right, so this is a very stacked list of receivers, if you ask me. The top of the list was kind of hard for me. I had Juju at first. I considered Odell, and I settled on Tyler Boyd. This is kind of a hard one for me. Boyd had his breakout, not last year, but the year before. He was very good then. He was pretty decent last year, too, with shit quarterback play. And I believe I've talked about Joe Burrow enough that my opinions on that should be clear. And I think Boyd will either be the number 1 or number 2 passing option on that team. Obviously, I think he's going to be number 1, or else I wouldn't have put him number 1. I think Juju could have easily been number 1 for me. I think, Ed, you had a pretty solid explanation on him. He's very talented. Ben Roethlisberger will hopefully play most of the season, not the whole season, so he'll get his targets. And hopefully he's healthy now.
Got one statement to make real quick, thinking about it.
Okay.
Say Ben Roethlisberger does get hurt. Cam Newton comes into the picture. What if they sign him? Would you?
Is it a healthy Cam Newton?
At the time
I mean,
of the
that's
signing,
I guess
I
you
would
would say,
think.
yeah, probably. Because say
They
like Ben
won't be
Does
Roethlisberger.
his
signing
shoulder
an unhealthy.
function? If his shoulder's functioning, then I still like Juju.
I'm sure they wouldn't sign him if his shoulder wasn't functioning, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't know.
I think it'd
Panthers
be
just trotted him out there for like 2 consecutive seasons with a non-functioning shoulder. So
It's
who
the
fuck knows?
Panthers.
Yeah,
But,
that's the Panthers. Their franchise quarterback, not a team bringing in Cam Newton.
Would
Well,
They
would
have
you
higher
Duck
expectations.
Hodges.
would you put
Okay,
like
fair.
okay? How would the wide receiver how would you look at Juju if Ben Roethlisberger did get hurt and Cam Newton came in? Like how would you evaluate his situation?
Well, I mean, obviously, I would have more of an idea of how to evaluate it midseason. However, if you took right now with the Steelers and swapped Roethlisberger for Cam Newton, I'd probably still have Juju too, just because I think he's very talented and he's the clear number 1 receiver on that team.
I think in all reality, Big Ben is obviously the best choice. But for this scenario to actually happen, Ben would get hurt, therefore making it more or less, would you rather have Hodges or Cam? I would obviously
that
want.
would make
See,
sense.
well, if he gets hurt mid-season, I
Yeah,
kind of know like whether Juju's producing already. It's
Sure,
my thing.
yeah.
Have more information by then.
I guess it was a poor
I
question.
just think he's very talented. I also think Odell Beckham's very talented. And these next 3 guys are, these top 5 guys are just hard as hell to rank for me.
Yeah.
I think a healthier Odell in an offense that's probably, I think will be a lot better under Stefanski compared to Freddie Kitchens, who we all agreed was a freaking train wreck.
Yeah.
So I think Odell will be able to put up better numbers. The drops worry me, as do the injuries, as does Baker Mayfield's inconsistency. However, I think Odell's pretty talented, and I hope they'll use him right. Maybe they won't. I contemplated putting A.J. Green and Jarvis Landry over him, honestly. I still think about it.
Really?
I think his ceiling is higher as probably the go-to guy. I'm higher on A.J. Green than you guys are. I think he could still be that elite wide receiver, whether it's for Cincinnati or whether it's for anyone if they get rid of him. I think he can still be really good. So I'm putting him at number 4. As I've said, the Bengals are going to pass the ball. I like Burrow. I think Green will produce. I also think Jarvis Landry will produce. If you look, he had a really good fantasy season last year.
He did.
Before, I didn't realize his numbers were that high before I looked at it. I didn't have him on I only played in 1 league. I didn't have him on it, and I never played him. So, didn't really know much about him. He had a pretty fucking good season last year, and look, I compare him to Adam Thielen in Minnesota, and he's probably not on the same level as him, but I think he'll get used a lot. The Browns are going to run a lot of 2 receiver sets because who's the Browns' 3rd string receiver?
Rashard Higgins.
Exactly. As I put down there, Kareem Hunt over the Browns' 3rd string receiver. I think the targets going to receivers in that offense are either going to Odell or Jarvis Landry.
Yeah.
So that makes me feel good about both of them. Hopefully their passing offense will be a bit more, let's say, less turnover-y than last year's.
I mean, shit.
I also think Stefanski could probably pass the ball a little more than they did in Minnesota. Mike Zimmer's not there to scream about establishing the run, so hoping they'll pass the ball. They're going to use a little more play action. I'd look for Odell on those deep shots and Jarvis Landry on those short little intermediate routes. I think both of them will be productive. Marquise Brown at 6. I think he'll be, as you said, he had a pretty decent rookie season, a little inconsistent, but rookies. Also, I don't know if I buy the hype about him being healthy now. However, he did get a screw removed from his foot, so that's got to be something. Is that just organizational? Like, this guy's healthy now, he's going to go off. Maybe. I guess we'll find out. But he still had a pretty solid rookie year. He's the number 1 receiver on that team, but not even close. So I'm just putting him at number 6 just because of that. If he can become a little more consistent, then he can be a wide receiver too. I guess what you said about Johnson is pretty much all I'd have to say about him. He was pretty talented for a rookie, and he's getting an upgraded quarterback. And if Juju's back and he can step in, Johnson can step into that number 2 role as wide receiver, then a little less attention on him. He already gets open as it is, so I think he's a solid option. After him is where we just firmly get into dart throwing range. I think a healthy John Ross can be a productive John Ross if they start him. But I don't know. Cincinnati's loaded at receiver. Yeah. And John Ross could just get hurt. Or they could misuse him. I don't know. However, he had some pretty explosive games last year when he was on the field, so maybe he does that again, maybe not. I don't know. I like his upside more than I like T. Higgins. Although I do like T. Higgins. I talked about him in the first episode. I like him. I think he fell in the draft. I think he had first round talent. Problem is he's looking at a fucking loaded depth chart.
I feel like we definitely compared him to AJ Green in that mock draft video as well.
Yeah, we did. You said AJ Green or Alshon Jeffrey.
Yep. I would think he's more Jeffrey than Green.
Yeah.
I think Green was more explosive in his prime than Jeffrey was, and I don't think T. Higgins will be as explosive as AJ Green. I do think he'll be a pretty solid receiver. Just he's not going to light the world on fire his first year. Probably not. Duvernay at 10. I know not either of us have mentioned him, but I like Duvernay. I've already talked about this. He was pretty solid in college, and he's one of those guys I trust the Ravens to be able to use. He's great in the underneath game, like the intermediate game. He's one of those guys you just want to get the ball in his hands and let him go. And hopefully the Ravens will be able to do that.
Seems like they're just making like a whole Madden roster right now with all this.
It kind of feels like it.
Small, fast people. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if he can't beat out Willie Snead in the slot, and that'll be sad, but I think he can. Will he be a productive, dependable fantasy receiver? Probably not year one, but he's in year one. What the hell did I just say? Near one.
Formula One race car.
I don't know, but I like him. I don't like Chase Claypool. However, I'm putting him in 11 because I think he's a name to keep in mind because the Steelers seem to be really hyping the shit out of this man, talking about he might be the starting receiver opposite, or he'll be the number 2.
I could see it happening. Oh, not.
I can't. He's not better than Deontay Johnson.
I don't think. Is that what you're hearing? I didn't hear anything about that. I hear them like he's going to start over James Washington. That's what I would picture personally.
Yeah. And if they start 3 receivers, you can get all 3 of those guys on the field. Yeah. But I don't know. They were pushing him as like the number 2 receiver. I don't like him. However, he's large and he can run fast, so maybe they find a role for him. And again, my opinion isn't going to be 100% correct, so maybe I'm way off, and he is a productive receiver.
Or if he turns into Calvin Johnson, we don't know.
I'd be willing to bet my own life on that.
Yeah, that's so.
I guess we'll see. Alden Tate at 12, and another guy that I really wish was on a team that had less receivers. He's looking at a loaded depth chart in front of him, so while I think he would produce a little bit if he was on the field, it's going to take him a couple injuries to get on the field consistently. So, again, he's just reserved to.
Can I talk about Alden Tate real quick?
Sure.
I had a little conversation earlier about him. First of all, his rookie year, he barely played. So, I don't know. Obviously, he was a 7th-round pick, so they're not going to be like, oh, just go ahead, jump in the starting lineup. But he was rarely used his first year. Second year, I think he became a starter when John Ross got hurt. He had his first, real game, snap-wise, when John Ross got hurt. So, obviously injuries are the thing that propelled him. I don't think he's an extreme talent. Some people might love him because he's so big and he's going to play with AJ Green.
Extreme talent. I think he's a solid complementary piece.
I don't agree with that. I think he's a solid depth piece. Maybe that's about the best I could see from him.
I mean, a third receiver is still a starting receiver in the NFL. So.
Yeah.
Again, I don't love him, but
yeah,
I think he can be fantasy relevant.
I have to
For
disagree
me,
with you there.
I mean, he had a few decent games last year. So
when you're the only person there with Tyler Boyd, I mean, what do you expect? If Alex Erickson was also solid fantasy,
all right, but
last year.
like I just said earlier, if Tate was on the Dolphins, I would like him a little more.
I wouldn't.
You think they'd start Albert Wilson over him?
I mean, we're seeing they have Devontae Parker and Preston Williams. Yeah, I don't think they're going to run out the Monstars in the NFL.
Hey, why not?
I mean, yeah, I mean, everything's possible with the Ravens running out the little minions that just have the minion squad. I mean, I guess it's definitely possible.
That's probably the more efficient way of doing things, though.
Brandon, what were you saying?
For me, last year with Auden Tate, I was kind of infatuated with the idea of him. Sounds silly, but I was kind of interested in the idea or the slight potential of him basically replacing like a AJ Green type of role. Obviously not to that skill, clearly, but getting those looks that AJ Green would typically get. I don't think now that they drafted T. Higgins, that kind of blows that very wild hope out of the water. But I still like Auden Tate. I mean, yeah, the wide receiver crew with the Bengals is very deep, but I mean they aren't looking at their health history. It's not like they're all super healthy all the time. I mean, John Ross, he gets hurt or he just plays like crap. Or you've got AJ Green who is hurt all the time. So like that's two of the wide receivers we're talking about. So now you've got Tate, Higgins, and Boyd. And Ed, you were saying earlier that Boyd plays in the slot. So two outside receivers right there. I mean, bam, that's how easy it is. And what's the chances of AJ Green and Ross getting hurt? And it sucks, but probably pretty high.
Tate put up pretty okay numbers in what was basically his first stint of NFL action last year on a very bad team. Yeah, he did get a lot of targets a lot of times with Ryan Finley, but that's to be expected. But I mean, I could see him if he got the playing time on what should be a much better offense, producing mildly. That's why I just say he's a name. I'm not saying I wouldn't roster him in a redraft game. I think he's worth a roster in a dynasty league.
Oh yeah.
Again, he's also number 12. That's how I feel about James Washington as well. He kind of sucks, and it's probably not much more than a name to keep an eye on just in case shit goes wrong.
Understandable.
And then I'm taking Kareem Hunt over any of the Browns' other receivers. It's the end of my receivers, Brandon.
Like having Hunt at 14, wouldn't you think that would rise his running back rankings if he's going to be that involved in the receiving game compared to James Washington
and Auden Tate, who we just admitted would require multiple injuries to receive a good share of targets? You're right. Kareem Hunt, RB1. coming to a theater near you.
So I've got Juju. My man, Juju Smith-Schuster at 1. I saw Alex's rankings, I think, yesterday morning, and I saw Boyd at 1, and at first I was like, hold up, wait a minute, what is this? But after hearing both y'all explanations, I get it. Juju, it's tough because Tyler Boyd is, like we've been saying, he's on a pretty stacked wide receiver core. So, I mean, his target share might not be as much as Juju. But I don't know. I think those two could easily be interchangeable. As for Odell, I'm not picking him in leagues unless his value was just right. He's had the last full season he's played, other than last season, which last season he played injured still. The last full season he's played was 2016. Odell, he's just got a history of injuries, playing injured, this, that, and the other. I'm not taking that. I'm not taking what's his redraft ADP, probably somewhere around like the 4th round, 3rd round. And that sounds crazy, but like,
yeah, it's 3rd round. It's 40th over.
So 3rd round, I don't know.
I mean, he's been pretty good when he's healthy. The problem is he going to be healthy?
The problem is he hasn't been. And if I'm picking a player in the 3rd round, it's. I mean, Odell Beckham has the upside of being a dominant wide receiver 1. There's no question about that. It's just that injury. It's all about injury for me. And Jarvis Landry at 4 is a beneficiary when it comes to that. And even when Odell isn't injured, I think he's still pretty much he's a consistent plug and play wide receiver. AJ Green, again, health is a predicament for the man. I would say more than Odell, but that's because Green is older. But what was that?
I do wonder. Well, going back to the Odell thing, he pretty much played all year last year. So if he can get those in, like he had, I think his lowest snap percentage was in the 80s, like high 80s. So he played. So
it was horrible, and he was still hurt.
It was horrible.
He was playing injured.
In an offense that should hopefully improve, if he can be injury free, I think he has a higher ceiling than. Actually, I should say a higher ceiling than people may think. I think he has
Would you take Odell Beckham Jr. 3rd round or AJ Green? What's his average? What's his ADP? 7th, 8th, probably somewhere around there. Maybe even
7. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably take Green down there too. My thing with Green is I wonder if I don't think Green sat out all last season because he was injured. I think he sat out part of the year because he was like, I'm not playing for this shit ass team right now, especially when I'm coming back from my own injury. So I wonder if that year off isn't gonna help him.
It was a contract season too, so you gotta think if he did play and he most likely wasn't going to be playing in the greatest circumstances, he wasn't going to be putting up great numbers, so that would have hurt his contract.
I just wonder, like, will he be, if he's fresh, like he comes in, like, because he hasn't played a year and a half, so that could mean rust, but that could also mean that he's fresh and ready to blow up.
You know what's crazy? Tyler Boyd's getting drafted in the 8th round.
That'll change.
That has to change. I mean, yeah.
Hope it doesn't.
I would take Boyd over Odell.
I mean, I would also take Boyd over
obviously
Odell. However, that has the potential to
in my
be
rankings,
wrong.
you can tell where I'd pick who. AJ Green at 5. I already discussed him, but just to even further, I really like AJ. If there is a definite he will be healthy all year, I'd go AJ possibly over I would go AJ over most of all of these players besides Juju maybe. I don't know, that would be a toss-up.
Problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's AJ. It's all about injury. That's what's hindering his ranking, and same with Odell. And then moving down the line to Johnson, I think Ed, Alex, you both got to him pretty well. Marquise Brown, I really like the man. He's fast. I don't think he's a target hog, though. I don't think he's going to be demanding 8 to 12 targets a game, and that's what you want. That's what you would hope to see from your wide receiver. I like Brown. I think he has some obstacles he has to surpass to be a good fantasy option. Higgins at 8. I like Higgins more than Ross because it's just there's an unknown. AJ Green, he could possibly be traded. AJ Green could possibly be hurt. You never know. And Higgins, most likely, you are not going to see John Ross taking the snaps from AJ Green after he's hurt.
Yeah, you might though.
That would just be strange. Because I'm
Well, I
thinking
mean-
the routes AJ Green's running compared to what Ross would
I mean,
be
Ed said
running
earlier,
would be
Ross
a
did play
strange-
on the outside. And obviously, you wouldn't just copy and paste John Ross into that same exact role. But an AJ Green injury puts John Ross on the field if he's healthy. I think John Ross will probably be on the field if he's healthy anyway.
I do too. But I
That's my
think
obstacle for him.
I think one injury on this wide receiver core in Higgins is in.
I mean,
And
if
I
Green
think
goes
he's
down, yeah,
in
you're probably
regardless.
looking at Ross, Higgins, and
I don't think Higgins is going to get a ton of looks, but I think he's going to be on the field. John Ross, I don't have much to say on Ross. And I already spoke on Auden Tate. I like him. I liked him more last year before they drafted a guy to replace AJ Green when I was hoping Tate would be that guy. So, but I think Tate still got that. I mean, throw a flyer at him at the 15th round in a redraft league.
I don't know what his ADP is. So.
Probably undrafted. Let's just be real.
Yeah, probably.
All right, and we are on to tight ends. The ends that are tight. Alex, you can hit these ones first if you'd like. These tight ends real quick.
Can we quickly backtrack to the ends are tight?
No.
Yeah.
Can we now
I'm gonna-
refer to tight ends
gonna
as the
not.
ends are tight?
I'm going to not hit these.
The ends that are tight. Please hit them, Alex. Hit all of them.
Hit that tight end.
How many? I think you got more than us. I think you have more ends that are tight than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just want to mention some more of these very tight ends.
Yeah. You did. All right, let's hear it.
Tight
Let's hear it.
ends.
So who's got the tightest end?
Mark Andrews has a
Oh,
pretty
we
tight
all
end.
say he's got a real tight end.
Yeah, we don't have to
That's
talk about
unanimous.
that. This is a Lamar Jackson. Let's just move on. I also think Austin Hooper will probably be used in Cleveland, or else they wouldn't have signed him to that giant contract. And he will get open, and he will move the chains. He will be a productive fantasy tight end. I don't think we have to discuss him too much either. After that, I guess, is where things get a little hairy. I think the Browns will probably use two tight ends a lot, given that their receivers outside of Landry and Odell are, again, who? I don't know, a loaf of bread out there. They suck. So Njoku is talented. Njoku will be on the field. However, I think Eric Ebron is likely the starter. Did some good stuff in Indy or whatever. So I guess he's three. After that, we've got whoever plays tight end for the Bengals, C.J. Uzuma or Drew Sample. Apparently, they took Drew Sample in the second round, even though he's a blocking tight end. That's bold. But I don't really care about either of those guys. But one of them's going to start, and if Joe Burrow's throwing the ball, maybe he'll throw to one of them. Guess we'll see. I wouldn't draft either of them. Probably wouldn't really roster them in a dynasty league. Anyway, I just wanted to mention Harrison Bryant real quick because I don't think he'll do anything this year as the third-string tight end on the Browns, as a guy that can't really play tight end very much. He's more of a receiver. But he was a hell of a receiving threat. I'm pretty sure he went over 1,000 yards his final season of college. The guy's pretty talented. I think if they can find a way to work him into the field in future years, he'll be pretty good. So he's a good dynasty name to keep an eye on if you like those end of the bench stashes. Yeah,
Figgity fact. All right. We got Brandon next with his tightest ends. Let's hear him.
The tightest end on the block is Mark Andrews.
Oh, yeah, kid.
And as you can see, we're straight wash with these first three rankings of the tightest end, Mark Andrews, the mid-tier tightest end, Austin Hooper, and Eric Ebron at the back half of the
tight ends.
The
tightest
of ends. Vance
Let's not
Donald.
bring this up in future.
Vance Donald at 4. So
Trash.
It's
Okay.
not.
Yeah, why
Vance.
Donald over Njoku? That's what I'm
Vance
curious
Donald.
about.
Let's hear it.
It's really just
Oh yeah,
So
that's
you're
it.
taking the number
skill
2 tight end on the
position.
Steelers over the number 2
Yeah,
tight end on the Browns, where
because you look at the Browns wide receivers and you look at the Steelers wide receivers. I value the Browns more. I think
yeah,
they're
but
going to get
the
more
Browns only have 2
looks.
good receivers, which means you're probably going to see
They've
more of
got
2
two
tight
good
end sets.
receivers. They've got two good running backs.
I just look at it with Minnesota.
And Njoku, who has had how much production his first 2 years in the league?
They're gonna run more 2 tight end sets than the Steelers will, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and Vance McDonald. If you're talking about David Njoku's production, let's hear about Vance McDonald's supposed production outside of running that one guy over. Who gives?
I'm not saying he had much production. I'm just saying I could see
He can do anything. I
I
thought you
could
were a big
see
Njoku
him-
fan. Where did
I
that
thought
go?
you were a big Joker fan too.
that vanished when they brought in Austin Hooper.
Yeah,
What?
all right, but look at Minnesota. Look at Minnesota last year. Irv Smith got targets in that offense. Like, they used 2 tight ends. Kevin Stefanski will probably be using 2 tight ends. I think they're going to pass the ball more. They're going to use more play action. To me,
Irv
Njoku has
Smith
way
was
more upside than.
Irv
I
Smith
love
was a
Njoku.
speck on my radar.
Well, yeah, but so was Vance McDonald. Was he
Yeah,
like your tight end?
And
what the
too?
fuck did Vance McDonald?
And so will Njoku. Okay, after Eric Ebron, Vance McDonald's and Njoku would most likely land like very low in the overall spectrum of the tightest ends.
So it'd be like the
So
loosest end.
I'm not saying Vance McDonald is going to have a huge year to outrank Njoku. I'm saying they're both going to be pretty trashy.
So you could say they're
And-
interchangeable, right?
Yeah, I think they're interchangeable. The only like I said, the only difference is I'm respecting the Browns skill position players more than what I am the Steelers. I think there are going to be less targets for Njoku than there will be potential targets
See,
for
I
Vance.
disagree strongly with that. Njoku had a pretty solid second season. Like, when he was on the field last year, he was hurt the whole time, so can't really judge him a lot for last year when he didn't really play. Like, I guarantee you, Stefanski's going to be running 2 tight end sets. They don't have a third receiver. Njoku's going to be on the field. Yeah, he's going to be overshadowed a little bit by Hooper, but I think he'll have way more opportunities than Vance McDonald. He'll probably get a few startable appearances out of Njoku, whereas good luck with that for McDonald.
I think they're both just gonna end the year with 3 decent weeks.
Disagree strongly on that. But all right,
That's fair. I mean, he's at 4 for you. What
fucking idiot.
and the overall ranking, Alex? Where do you see Njoku landing
What do you
quickly? I mean, off the top of my head, I would say Njoku would be like a mid tight end 2, back end tight end 2, and I would say the same for Vance McDonald.
I don't see Vance McDonald doing jack shit this year. So
Yeah.
I think I've already mentioned about 15 times in the last 30 seconds that I think Njoku will have some decent games. He's got receiving talent. I think it will be used. They don't have their third receiver is Austin Hooper. Their fourth receiver is either going to be Njoku or Kareem Hunt.
Right.
Rashad Higgins.
All right.
No. Vance McDonald did last year. Not a whole lot. He had 2 startable games last year. Wasn't he he was basically the starter. Now he's the backup.
Yeah.
And
Not good.
Njoku's the
Not very good.
All right.
Okay.
Let me dive into mine real quick. Let me clear up this whole conversation. Okay. So Mark
I
Andrews,
really have a lot
obviously.
to clear up.
Well, with the whole Njoku thing, I just got some tidbits of information to touch on. These tight ends, let me hear them. Okay. Mark Andrews, number 1. Clearly, he had a fucking insane touchdown rating last year. Insane. 15.6 touchdown or 15.6% touchdown rate. That's going to regress. I guarantee you that. I could probably bet my life on that one, just like Alex bet his life earlier. The deepest average target distance among tight ends, almost 12 yards per target, which is pretty insane. It's just target distance. Sixth most drops last year among tight ends, but that probably comes with the fact that he had top 5 targets among tight ends. So, I mean, it's kind of expected. Number 2, I got Austin Hooper, okay? Dependable red zone target, yada, yada, yada. He came from the Falcons, okay? The pass-heaviest team in the entire NFL. Opportunity is going to be cut. He's running 2 tight end sets with Odell Beckham, with Jarvis Landry, in a run-heavy scheme. Opportunity is going to be cut. He's not going to be a top 5 tight end. I'm just going to say that. I don't hate the guy because, I mean, obviously you've seen last year I think he had like 3 or 2 top 5 tight end performances early on. But like I said, less opportunities, less chance to perform that highly. So
Hooper was a tight end or the number 1 tight end up until he got hurt.
yeah,
So
I mean, I just think that comes with the fact that he had a ton of opportunities. I'm not saying he's a bad talent. He's the top 10, top 8, I guess, somewhere around there, tight end in the league. But with less opportunities, you can't. Like, that's just saying, like.
See, I think the Browns are going to actually pass a little bit more than we've been assuming.
Yes.
I think Mike Zimmer was probably influencing Stefanski's play calling. I think he'll realize play action passing is the most efficient play. We're going to run it a lot.
That's fair.
None of the Vikings tight ends
ran passes last year. There's no shot they're going to run as many pass plays as them. And
none of the tight ends from Minnesota was ever. And Kyle
Rudolph was definitely an option when he was like.
He was an option. He wasn't your
prime.
Not when they were running 2 tight end sets. I get what Brandon's saying. Yeah, like late.
But then like Austin Hooper, I think is more talented. Kyle Rudolph.
No. Oh yeah. God, don't. Yeah, Austin Hooper is
don't do that to Kyle Rudolph. He's good.
I love
Kyle Rudolph
Hooper.
had some good seasons, like when he was in his prime. Like he was just old as shit last year. He's still decent. They just can't run him out there.
I could see Hooper being 1. It's just he lands at 2 for me because it's an unknown, and he's going. It's not like a lateral move. He's going to a team that doesn't have the history of being so pass heavy, just like the Falcons. So that's the only reason why he's at 2, because the unknown.
I think he definitely will have less opportunities. I agree with that on that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't see Mark Andrews finishing below Austin Hooper at all. I mean, obviously it's difference in belief, but Mark Andrews won the heaviest run-heavy team last year. Opportunities, he still had a ton of opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that they run
it to increase.
They run a lot of their passing game through their tight ends. So
yeah,
obviously that benefits him a lot.
And in the like, say they're going to have to. I think they're going to run the ball less this year. Obviously not drastically, but it creates even more opportunities for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially their number 1 receiver.
Exactly.
It's a weird thing to say as a tight end, but it's
I don't see him dropping from tight end 1 in this division. And I think he's probably right up there with Kelsey. I mean, obviously he's tight end 3 in most people's boards. I can see him finishing above Kelsey tight end 2 this year, but let's not get into too much of that stuff.
Hey man, it's only his 3rd season.
Yeah. Eric Ebron at 3. I don't really have much to say on the dude. We all know that 1 year where he had, 16 touchdowns or some shit.
Stupid amount.
It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And if it does, I mean, you come back to this video and comment, I told you so, but I don't really care. Tight end 4, David Njoku. Okay. I love this man. He's an insane athlete. In, 2018, okay? He had a 66.7% contested catch rate on 15 contested targets. You're probably like, okay, what does that mean? Last year, Austin Hooper had the 2nd highest contested catch rate among tight ends in the league, 47%. 67 compared to 47. That's a 20% jump. And the targets they only differed by 2 targets. So David Njoku, if given the opportunity, red zone threat, extreme red zone threat, insane athlete. I think he could be a top 10 tight end if he gets the opportunity, which he's not going to be able to get in this offense. If he was traded to another offense, I think he could finish top 10 end for sure. Top 10 tight end. But yeah, on this offense, it obviously limits him because of the fact they have so many mouths to feed. His snaps going to be limited, in my opinion. I think Harrison Bryant's going to jump in there occasionally. Austin Hooper's going to have the tight end 1 spot on lock for that team. then you just for tight end too. I think it's going to change weekly with Njoku and Bryant. Then at 5, I have Drew Sample, who Alex said earlier got drafted in the second round as a blocking tight end. And, second round as a blocking tight end, I feel like they definitely have plans for the dude. Because I don't think you just draft a second round or blocking tight end in the second round. It's like drafting a fullback at that point. I don't see the point of it.
There's also always the fact that just because they drafted in the second round doesn't mean he's any good. But,
Yeah, but I mean,
the organization apparently thinks that he's got big things in store for him. So
unless they plan on shifting him to an offensive lineman, which is definitely possible because
they have
Cincinnati offensive line is poop. But
new center of the Bengals.
All I gotta say is Drew Sample, number 5. That's it. Okay, tight ends. That's it for me. Defenses. Let's hop into this pool. All right. So number 1, who's gonna go first? I'm gonna go with Brandon. Go first, Brandon.
Turn.
I'm the only one that defers. I say the Steelers at number 1. This right here, I was thinking just right now. I see this division just might have 2 top 3 defenses. Yeah. Steelers, Ravens, great defenses. Ravens, a lot of veterans, a lot of Pro Bowlers on defense. Insane. Just their offense to accent that successful defense is just incredible. The Steelers, what can I say about them? They showed up for that team. It's tough because last year the Steelers were in a predicament that left them basically quarterbackless. It's putting all the pressure on the defense, and I think with their starting quarterback back, I think that the defense should get a boost from that, and I think that boost is just about more than what the Ravens got. So that's why I've got them at 1. And then the Ravens at 2. And then just because the Bengals defense really didn't, I think they might. Yeah,
they're bad.
They probably
improved.
All we
need to say about it. They're bad.
Yeah, they probably improved slightly. I don't know much of what they acquired over the offseason, but yeah, they're bad. So that's why they are all across the board at 4, and then the Browns all across the board at 3 because, Ravens aren't falling to 3. Steelers aren't falling.
Somebody had to be 3.
Yeah, and that's the Browns. Although I think the Browns might actually have a halfway relevant defensive fantasy output.
I agree.
I can see it.
Let me jump into that real quick.
Dive into this defense.
Let me dive into these defenses.
Take them all on.
Obviously, Ravens 1, Steelers 2, Browns 3, Bengals 4. Okay. Ravens, I just came to this conclusion, which everybody should understand the whole point of it. Talent plus rushing play percentage equals fantasy ranking. Okay, so if you have great talent on your defense, the Ravens have that. Check. The rushing play percentage, they ranked first last year in rushing play percentage. Check. That is top 5 defense right there. Boom. That's just simple mathematics. I'm a teacher at this point, but the Browns also have a decent amount of talent on their defense. We're expecting them to run a lot this year. So I can see them finishing as a defense 1. Like, I don't know how you would coin that term, but defense 1, I guess. Top 12 defense in fantasy this year.
Sure.
Now, I'm not going to say they're going to jump the Steelers because I feel like this division has 3 top 12 defenses. But, the Bengals, of the defenses, they're poop. Who dey? Like, who says that?
Alex. Give us your hot take.
I feel like you could pretty easily put the Steelers number 1. That Minka Fitzpatrick thing really gave them a giant boost. And with Roethlisberger back, maybe the offense will be slightly better. But I'd take either of them at this point. I'd put the Ravens number 1 just because I think the Ravens will continue to run the ball a shit ton. I think the Steelers will probably pass a little more. which means their defense might be on the field a lot more often, especially if Roethlisberger's out there turning the ball over every time.
More opportunities for Pitts.
More opportunities to get scored on them.
And everybody knows that turnovers are basically that and the ability to keep the opponent's offense like minimal scoring. But you can't really like guess these things. So like that's what goes into my personal like rankings, I guess, would be the fact that like the talent on the team and the expectation on how much you think they're going to run this year. I feel like that's the only two things you can really assume and like take into consideration when ranking defenses, or just past year. I mean, how they produce.
Who cares about defense anyway?
I mean, we have it in our dynasty league and half people use it, so I guess.
Defenses are stupid.
You're stupid.
Occasionally.
I thought you were going to refute that. Bring some emotion in the podcast, boys and girls. I mean, I didn't have much this episode
What's
either.
that?
What's emotion?
I don't know.
I don't know. Emotion is emotion.
Fuck that noise.
Fuck is emotion. Emotion.
Brandon, what are your opinions on emotion? I don't care. Just kidding.
All
Yeah,
right,
another
boys
That hurt
and
my-
girls.
My feelings.
Ah, there's some emotion.
That's emotion.
Being a bitch.
Oh,
Oh.
shit. Love to see it.
That's
Hot
right.
takes. Hot
Brandon, you got that
takes.
outro question?
Let's properly introduce this this final question that Brandon's got for us. Let's hear it, Brandon. Come on now.
All right. This is another person with no
relation, nothing.
no links, no nothing.
Nothing.
McKendra. All right, she has a question. She says, if you had to eat one cereal for the rest of your life, what you going with? Ed?
Cinnamon
Totally.
Life. It's the only right answer. I mean, yeah.
Alex?
By technicality, I'm going to go with no cereal because cereal has a lot of sugar, and I've tended to stray away from things with a lot of sugar unless I'm deeply in love with them.
Well, then that sucks because that's the only thing you're allowed to eat. So you did.
Why
So
don't
that
I
means
guess.
it's Ed and Alex
Yeah,
on the island.
Listen,
So,
Ed and Alex? Why Ed and Alex?
or no, Ed and I on the
Right,
island.
I was gonna
I'd rather
say.
be dead than really
Alex
fat
died
again.
because
So,
he didn't need a cereal.
See, Alex, you could have adapted. You know what you could have done? Instead of
What's
just,
that?
first of all, dying and then like not choosing to eat, you could
see,
have
I
just
thought about just picking like a low sugary cereal, and then I was like, wait a minute, none of those taste good.
or
The only benefit to cereal is that you're just eating sugar.
you can create a diet cereal.
I'm good.
Nah.
I'll choose
Okay,
that.
Let's
so you'd
not
rather
do
die.
that.
Okay, he'd
Yeah.
rather die of
All these
starvation.
questions always result
I live
in
a
Alex's
very privileged
despair.
life, Ed.
Alex never makes a decision with it. He's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, let me just die. Like,
His
okay.
questions are, I'm going to drown out in the ocean, or
Well,
I'm
that's just
not
what would happen.
eating
I would try to
any
leave the island
cereal.
and I would die. I'm being honest with you. You said that I would be the one to be like, oh, I'm gonna survive forever on this island. No, I'm not lying
Ed
to myself.
claimed
Like that. I
that.
will die very quickly. Okay?
Alex,
Because I'm
you're
gonna be like,
showing
I can't be
emotion.
on this
Stop.
island. I have
He
to
lo-
leave
yeah,
this
Alex. Alex, no
shithole
emotion.
island.
Emotion
So
is
I'm
not
gonna
allowed.
swim
in
out
this
into the
podcast.
ocean, realize I can't. I'm not even listening to you guys. I'm gonna swim out into the ocean, realize I can't swim, and then I'm gonna die.
But you can't swim?
Not very well.
Damn.
I
we're
can't
all
tread
bad.
water.
Okay.
I have no idea how to tread water. Like,
I
if you
can't
told me to
tread
tread water,
water.
I would sink immediately. As long as I can swim, as long as I'm moving somewhere, but like, you run out of energy eventually.
Yeah, and
Also,
sharks
I'm
would probably
I'm
get
on an
to it.
island.
Yeah.
So, like, where am I going? I don't know. And yeah, like, if I get hit by a wave, I'm gonna start flailing around like a seal, and a shark's gonna see that and think,
Quietly around.
See you.
all right, dead. It's dinner up there. So, yeah.
My question to y'all is, how do you guys sleep on Reese's peanut butter cup cereal?
Never had it.
What the
Those-
hell is that?
Oh, it's
Don't think Ed has
never
had
had
it.
it?
Never had
Never
it.
had
I
it.
won't have it. I'm willing to bet
Reese's
there's like
Puffs.
Reese's peanut butter cup cereals.
That
Everyone.
sounds like drugs.
how many grams of
It's
sugar per
delicious.
serving?
Oh yeah, that too. Probably got like 10 cavities from just one bowl.
I
It's
don't
probably got like
care.
90 grams of sugar per bowl, and I don't fuck with that anymore.
All right.
All right.
I had to
Completely understand it, Alex. We
cut
get
the
it.
soda and the cereal out, and then
We get
but
it.
you-
No
but you-
sugar.
But you drink diet soda.
that's not sugar.
Make a diet cereal.
I didn't
Now.
make the diet soda. I
You're
buy
right.
the diet soda. From
Adapt.
I didn't just
Adapt.
make it.
Adapt. Okay.
All right, let me just start
Um,
making Diet Frosted Flakes.
Speaking of which, I had Diet Sunkist the other day. Who said was the best soda? Which one of you two?
Not me.
It was banging.
The
Yeah,
one person who said diet.
All right.
I can admit to it.
Pretty.
That's just
I can't find it anymore. I'm getting. I got a 2-liter bottle of it. That was the only thing I could find.
that's a rest in
I go to
peace.
Walmart and it's not there. I'm just.
Speaking
Anyway.
of which, let me get to Walmart because I got to get out of here, boys.
I think that's about all we
and
got.
girls.